Greetings, my name is Chamomile and this is an exploration of the entire galaxy sector by sector. Today we're looking at Oplovis Sector and the 9th Brazen Petard Command of the new territories of the Outer Rim. Oplovis Sector is the domain of the Uvernian species under Republic tradition, although, like all sectors in the Imperial Remnant, that tradition has been defunct for half a century now. The Uvernians are a two-headed reptilian species with long necks, whose only prominent member I could find is Cain Adis, a smuggler who worked for Jabba the Hutt at the time of his death. Cain did spice runs in the Oplovis sector, using his homeworld of Uvern as a safe house, which kinda sucked for him because he got into the smuggling to try and get away from home, but the fact is he had connections there, and it's really important, when you're a smuggler, to have people who like you more than the authorities, and who will therefore lie on your behalf about where you're hiding, or if there's any spice hidden in the walls. Akuria 2 is a snow planet that the Imperials set up an outpost on. The Rebels destroyed the outpost and considered using Akuria 2 as a site for the Rebel base, but they ultimately used Yavin instead, which, I mean, yeah. Akuria 2 was a pretty good site for a Rebel base, sure, but that's why the Imperials put an outpost there. Having destroyed the outpost, naturally the Imperials would now be sending a force to counterattack any Rebels who stayed behind. So the smart thing to do was to leave, not move high command in. According to rumor, this planet's native species of so-called snow demons are sapient and help the rebels take out the Imperials. As usual, I am skeptical of these caveman alien stories in space that was explored in the High Republic era at the latest. The rumors say that the snow demons wear clothes and have tools. How did the explorers miss that they were intelligent when they were first charting the planet? This isn't as far-fetched as the ones in the Slice, territory that had been sandwiched between the core, the Tion Cluster, and Hutt space since the earliest days of the Republic, so it's possible that Akuria 2 legitimately does have a low-tech sentient species that slipped through the cracks, but given how much spacers love to tell stories about caveman aliens, my default assumption is that these guys are made up. Official Imperial naval doctrine was that every sector should have a fleet of 6 Star Destroyers. In practice, basically no one actually did that. It was a demand that the Emperor leveled on Sector Moffs who failed to meet the quotas, which is why the defeat of just 40 Star Destroyers at Jakku was enough to send the Empire fleeing in a panic from the Rebel fleet as they entered the core, consolidated control of Coruscant, and officially declared the New Republic. There's reports that Oplovis Sector actually did have a fully functional sector fleet, and even an overstuffed one with an Executor-class Star Dreadnought as a flagship, but these are Imperial reports, and they might have just been lying to Palpatine about meeting their quotas. More reliable reports state that Admiral Akbar defeated a fleet of Star Destroyers in the Atropis sector that had come from Oplovis sector in the run-up to the Midrim offensive, but my guess would be that this fleet was gathered from across a good chunk of all 9th Brazen Petard, and Oplovis sector was just the rendezvous point. I covered Atropis sector as part of the 8th Bright Jewel command, but it's one of those sectors that gets cut in half by over-sector boundaries, so part of it does fall under Brazen Petard with neighboring Oplovis sector. Oplovis sector was home to the Vosteltig shipyards, and while it was no Kuat, this was probably why they were able to keep their sector fleet topped up in a way most Imperial sectors could not. I'm still really skeptical that this shipyard built and serviced the Super Star Destroyer, though. Kataris is a minor world, and like a lot of minor worlds in the new territories, it has a spot in the history books, at least as a footnote, because it was the site of one of the final skirmishes between the New Republic, by this point mainly fighting with X-Wing Rangers, and the Imperial Remnant, as they hashed out exactly where the border was going to be in the years after Jakku. The Imperials won on Kataris as part of a broader strategy of retreat from the Mid-Rim to focus on holding the Outer Rim. From one of the only sectors with a full fleet of 6 Star Destroyers to a ragged battalion of Stormtroopers eking out a win over some X-Wing commandos, how the mighty have fallen, but hey, a win is a win.